Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous wife, Michelle.
You're so sweet. Hello, everybody.
So good to have you with us once again. Yes, we are still on vacation. I know some of you are like, yeah, let's go. I know some of you are like, would you ever come back? Are you ever coming back? And some of you are like, oh, please stay away, go away. You don't even need to do podcasts. But we are still on vacation. So we recorded this episode actually on Sunday, January 6th. 2019, just like the last two episodes, but these, just like last episode, this one's going to be a little different. We are going to have a main topic today. We are going to finish it up with a tip of the week. We always do that, but because of the fact that we've kind of been out of the loop for 2 weeks, and we're recording this 2 weeks ago, we're not going to have any Disney stories of the week, so just be prepared for that as we move on through this show. So we appreciate that you found us today. You can find us in the future on 1057max.com under the Max Plus tab, as well as on the Max FM app. You can also find us, and better yet, subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. And if you have the chance, one, tell a friend about us. Tell your family about us if you think they might love Disney podcasts like ours, or if they're going on a Disney trip and they might want some tips. We are happy to help them with that. But also, please, if you have just a second, give us a quick rating on some of those websites. You can just find the stars there and just click on whatever you think is appropriate. If you have just a little more time, it can even just be a couple words, whatever. A review would be wonderful. It would help so many people out there that don't know about this podcast to find out that we exist.
Right. And we really do like growing this podcast. And, because what happens is more and more of you are interacting with us, and it's really making this a much more exciting podcast to provide you, and we love hearing from everybody.
Absolutely. This is an interactive show, and you can interact with us on social media, on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook and Instagram at Hyperion Adventures Podcast, and you can always email us on HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com, and that all goes for even when we're on vacation like we are right now.
Absolutely. And although we will be live on social media, we won't be getting to emails while we're on vacation.
Maybe a little bit here and there,
but
some of it we won't be able to.
Right. We'll have some spotty access issues. So if we don't respond right away, we're not trying to be rude or be negligent. Just understand that we may not actually see emails.
Mm-hmm. But we love hearing from all of you at whatever time we can get to it. We promise we will, because we love all our Hyperion adventurers. So if you didn't listen to our last episode, we just talked about it. We're on vacation. Again, we didn't want to go 2 weeks without giving you brand new episodes. So we decided to do this series where we're going on people who got married at the various Disney properties. A lot of people out there, maybe, the holidays are a big time for people to get engaged. Maybe it's a family member of yours. Maybe it's friends of yours. Maybe it's you. You may have gotten engaged over the holidays, or coming up here, we have Valentine's Day coming up. It's a big time for people to get engaged, and maybe you're thinking about getting married at a Disney property. We covered Disney Cruise Line 2 episodes ago. Last week, we had a great interview with OG Hyperion adventurer Rob about the Walt Disney World Resort and getting married there. You might want to listen to that if you haven't had a chance to. And this week, we're going to look at the Disneyland Resort, and we have a great guest who got married there.
Right. And so hopefully you'll be getting some great ideas and help spark some motivation for you if you're looking to have any kind of event at the Disneyland Resort.
Absolutely. It's so much fun, and I'm telling you, some of these, we're hearing these stories. Last week it was the Walt Disney World Resort. We're like, well, we got to figure out some sort of celebration to have there, because that sounds pretty darn cool, and I think it's going to be the same thing when we get today to the Disneyland Resort. Well, let's get right to it. We're going to continue our Tying the Knot with Disney series with a look at the Disneyland Resort.
Yeah.
This is the story of the day my life ended.
Eugene.
I'm kidding! It was the happiest day of my life. Our wedding day. The biggest shindig to hit the kingdom in forever.
It was a magical day, and everything went just as we planned.
Well, I pronounce this couple husband and wife.
As long as we both shall live, no matter what happens.
Hey, come on. We're superheroes. What could happen? gonna pronounce y'all frog and wife. Get to it, Hopalong. Give your lovely bride some sugar.
So, who wants a piece of cake?
So there you have it, our intro to the Tying the Knot with Disney. If we're going to hear it, that's the last time you're going to have to hear it because we won't be going back to this series. But we wanted to get it in there one more time because I think it's kind of fun. But let's get to our guest because she's wonderful. She's been on this show before. We always love talking with her. She always gives us input, whether it's on the show or off the show, to help us out as we progress through these various topics we cover. And she happened to get married at the Disneyland Resort just a few years ago. And she has some great insight in it. So we're excited to talk with Nicole Eacobellis about her wedding at the Disneyland Resort. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
So we're very excited to hear about your experiences with having a wedding at Disneyland. So how can you, first, why don't you tell us a little bit, though, about how you and Joe met and how that evolved?
Yeah, we met right out of high school. We actually went to high school together, but we never really met in high school. We met at college, and it was one of those things that I didn't think like we would have anything in common. And like we had a friend that we just ended up being invited to the same place at the same time. And he was like, don't invite her. She's going to talk about NSYNC the whole time. And I was like wearing an NSYNC shirt. I showed up in an NSYNC shirt and then like, I don't know. And then like 10 years later, like we got married.
Great.
And I mean, we were opposites though. He was like a Knott's Berry Farm kid and I was a Disneyland kid. So I had to like
rivals.
I had to teach him the better.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it was very special. But I think along the time of us dating, he realized, okay, so this Disney thing isn't going to go away, so I need to embrace it.
Right.
And then he proposed to me at Disneyland, actually, and it was really cool because he had a lot of my friends involved in it, and we've been to Disneyland so many times together that we just took like one group picture in front of the castle, and then my friends said, why don't you get one of you and Joe? And I was like, I don't need a picture of me and Joe. I have a million pictures of me and Joe. And they're like, no, just do it this one time, like just one more. And then you could see my friends kind of scatter like to get people out of the way, like in the pictures of the like proposal. You can see them like, okay, back up. But, you know, like, it was like it was weird, but he had it planned and it was amazing. And then I think he thought, I proposed to her at Disneyland, so now I don't have to get married there.
Well,
that's just silly.
Yes,
right.
we guys, we're not very smart sometimes, so let's just face the facts.
It's just funny. But we did go to see a couple other places when we were finding the place to get married. We went to the Hotel Del and saw how expensive that was. And then I think it helped when we went to Disneyland and saw their numbers. It was like, okay, like the Hotel Del is a little bit more, and you know, we get married at Disneyland.
Right.
So Disneyland is less expensive than the Hotel Del. Is that what you're saying?
I guess it depends on it was for us, but it also depends, I think, on the guest number and like what you kind of want, you know.
Sure.
Like if you want something small or huge, and when you have an Italian family and you have a lot of family, you need it to be huge. So yeah. So Hotel Del was out of the question for us. That's all right. It's all right with me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Knowing that you wanted a Disneyland wedding, how did you decide like what honing in on the theme? Like, did you decide, you know, in terms of, gee, should it be a princess wedding? Should it be some, you know?
You know, it's actually that Disneyland is so great. They have the cast members that they have are just incredible. They know how to read their guests. Like, it's just amazing. We met with the most wonderful wedding planner. Her name was Tracy. She just kind of talked to me and my mom and Joe, but mostly, and got really,
sure, Joe, yeah.
He was there. She kind of just got a feel for like my personality and like us and like how to like, you know, grab Joe along on this whole thing, but also like, you know, she showed us all of the different places that you can get married. So they have different ballrooms at the different hotels and just the different packages that they offer. So it's fun. We got in a little golf cart and we traveled the hotels and saw all the places and And then she'll tell you what other people have done, so you can kind of come up with cool ideas of what you really want or like really don't want. And
right.
It just kind of worked out. I mean, I love purple, so she knew that right away and was able to be like, and you can get this in purple, like she would like talk you into it in like a really cool way. So it just kind of, I think just seeing a couple other places and then comparing it to how well they had everything just ready to go at that first meeting, it just kind of seemed like it made so much sense. Like they have a list of vendors that they work with. So if you know that Disneyland has worked with them before and they're recommending them, then they're going to be good.
Sure.
So,
right.
like you can have like this as your place setting, or you can do this for your cake, or you can just all these different things. These are the photographers that we recommend, and they can take your engagement photos inside the park. And you're like, well, better go with that guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to already have all that. I mean, you don't have to pick them, but it was kind of nice that kind of they already have a good reputation with Disney. Then it's just kind of there and easy. They can take care of it all for you.
Right.
That's kind of really nice too.
Definitely.
So, yeah, we had white chocolate castles at every single table.
Ooh.
It was very magical.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that is very magical. Wow. Do you eat it?
Yeah.
Do you keep it?
Well, it's funny. My mother-in-law still has it at her house.
Oh.
She has it like in, I don't know if she has it in like a display or put it in anything, but it's just like sitting at her house still.
Wow.
So
How nice.
Too cool.
Almost 10 years old now. So
Wow.
Nice reminder too.
Kinda cool.
You see, oh, there it is. It's so cute.
yeah, exactly.
So you
So funny.
obviously, I assume it was already a foregone conclusion. I'm going to say you decided on Disney, but it seems like you decided on that years ago before this ever happened.
I think I knew that a while. Yeah, probably before I met Joe, but I didn't tell him right away. I don't want to scare him away, but yeah, kind of already knew that was the plan.
Right.
It was just harder because we live in San Diego, so you kind of had to make that decision. Am I going to make all my guests travel?
Sure.
And another thing is I asked about discounts. They had, because at the time when I was going through the process of the getting married, they did have a cast member discount. So, but it only worked on Sundays, I think, every day but Saturday or something like that.
Right.
So we picked the Sunday before Labor Day, so everyone pretty much would have Monday off. And so then we didn't feel bad having them travel, and then we got the cast member discount, so it made it a little bit easier.
Very nice.
So
yes.
that's kind of nice too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they offer other ones, but I'm sure it's got to have something.
Always ask and see what they will offer to you for sure.
Exactly.
So how much in advance did you have to make planning for this, especially to get that kind of a weekend to get this thing set?
We were planning probably a year out, but it's funny too because they're, like I said, those cast members, they're really smart. They'll tell you if you get married in this month, these flowers will be blooming. If you get married here, the sun will be shining over here, and then that you really start to picture, well, I don't want to get married if none of the flowers are going to be in bloom, or things like that. I mean, they really help you pick that date. But we were probably about a year out.
Right.
But that was because we really wanted that specific date. So they do have things open, and they have so many different options. Like you can have Mickey and Minnie come to your wedding, and you can go in the you can be Cinderella for a minute and have the stagecoach. You can do all that. So it was really great.
Yeah.
That's great.
To go through just even the planning process was so much fun. I don't think a lot of people can say that about their wedding planning.
Yeah,
it really was.
I would imagine all the different information you get and the fun of just being all this Disney elements as you're leading into it must have been really great.
Can I tell you the best part?
Sure.
Yes, I want to hear the best part for sure.
So when we were talking about the food, which is my favorite topic.
Oh yeah.
She gave us the standard menus, like you could do the plated, fish or chicken or steak, or they have a buffet style with the salads and the meat, and it's like that all sounded great, but it was just like, okay, that doesn't remind me of Disneyland, 'cause this was before social media, really. So this was before Facebook would tell you what you have to eat at Disneyland. But still, I was like, well, I really, there's a lot of things in the park I kind of want to eat, and I was afraid to ask her, but she was telling me other crazy things that people have asked before. She said someone asked for the Mad Hatter to marry them. Okay, well, if someone felt comfortable enough to ask that, I can ask. So I said, what are the chances that I could get the peanut butter and jelly pizza from Goofy's Kitchen at the wedding ceremony? And she was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever been asked. And I was like, really? The Mad Hatter? That wasn't the weirdest? So, but, okay. But by the next visit, she said, okay, so after meeting with you, I feel like a plate of dinner is not what you really have in mind. You really like the food of the park. So I have worked with a chef, and we've created a menu for you with different foods from the entire resort.
Wow.
So it was the Bengal barbecue chicken skewers and like a pasta dish from Ariel's Grotto. And then, of course, the peanut butter and jelly pizza presented under a heat lamp so that it could be extra creamy. So it was amazing. Like, and you know, there's some people that came to the wedding don't really understand. They don't probably have never had peanut butter and jelly pizza. I promise it's delicious. It's worth it. So when they were going down the buffet line, they were kind of like, what?
Right.
What is this? But I mean, it was so cool. And even not just having the peanut butter and jelly pizza, but going through the food trial, because you get to have that food tasting day.
Right.
They had it in the room that we were going to be married in, and they bring you all of the different foods out. And I felt like in Beauty and the Beast, when they have the Be Our Guest scene, because they don't give you like a tiny little like minuscule tasting. They give you a plate. Like they gave us an entire peanut butter and jelly pizza.
Wow.
They gave us all the different treats, and then when it was time for cake, we all got a huge plate that had 5 different types of cake, because you can choose between this giant list, and I'm narrowing it down to 5 was already hard enough. But they gave you 5 pieces on one plate, not tiny pieces. And then as you're eating them, you're talking about them. I really like this Nutella. Oh, this mango is really good. And then it was literally like a cartoon. She was like, and if you can't make the decision here, you can bring home the cakes with you. And she like leaned over, and like all of these workers were placing boxes, like those perfect pink boxes full of cake on the table. So he brought home 5 cakes.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. It was amazing. It was like the movies. Like, here you are, be our guest, take this home.
Wow.
It was just so magical. And that was just the taste test part.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you.
Very
just
cool.
planning it was so fun. Yeah.
Sure. How did they no, we love it. We love this.
Yeah, no.
Yes, great.
We always talk about this when we're doing this podcast. We always do it right before we eat lunch, so we're always starving. So
Yeah.
hearing the food always
right.
makes us even more hungry. It's
That's
great.
why you don't eat before. That's so
Right.
smart.
So
I love it.
how did they help you not feel overwhelmed with all the decisions that you had to make?
For us, I think for us it was kind of easy, because like you really couldn't go wrong like with any choice that you made. I think the hardest part for us was like planning those silly things, like who's going to walk who down the aisle and what song, you know, like those types of
Right.
things were harder for me to pick than any of those other decisions. I think it's because she handed me that list of vendors, and she's like, if you want to have bobbleheads of you and Joe for your cake topper, we have someone that does that. So we did it. I mean, why not?
Sure.
Like, I want a bobblehead of myself. And then, you know, like those little things, like, you know how every guest has like a little take home thing? We did white chocolate picture frames with our engagement photo inside. And it's just, it was easy to make those decisions because she had done so many things that she just had so many ideas, and they just seemed to kind of work with us. I think they begin to know you really well, and they are like, she'll like this idea. Like, I don't know how to explain it. They just are
Right.
so good at that.
Cool. So describe to us, what was it like the first time you went out there for that meeting? Like when you arrived, tell us about how that experience was for you, because I'm imagining it must have been spectacular.
It really was. I mean, first getting there, it was like, we kind of got a little bit lost because it's like it's different than going to the main gate. But after we got there and meeting with them, you just instantly feel like family with them because they're so personable. And then when you like get on the golf cart and just start traveling around, and she'll start asking you like, how many guests are you thinking? Because this ballroom holds this many people, or, you know, this and that. And then she'll start off on the small end and then go to the like extreme. And it's just like you start imagining everything. And when you like see the room, and like start picturing what it could look like.
Right.
It just gets really exciting in general. But I do have to say I worked there at that time, so I kind of had already been backstage before, and I hadn't been to I've been in the fairy tale building just as part of like on the job training, so I had seen it for a second, but obviously I didn't talk to anybody. But you know, like I think that's also like a tribute to how amazing it is, because even though I'd already seen it and already kind of done it, it still was magical. Like, because you know, like some people say like, if you've been backstage, it like ruins the magic, but it really didn't, and it just doesn't. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been backstage on a couple of the tours, and I know people wonder like that, you know, like, will that ruin it for you and everything? It's like, no, it actually makes it better.
No,
to me, the way finding out they do it. Yeah.
Right, you have more appreciation for how things happen.
Yeah.
So you've made the decision, you make the initial plans, you kind of set the menu and everything. You're leading up to the day. How is the contact between you and like the wedding planner and everything? Are you guys in contact regularly? You know, how available are they to you?
They're super available, and a lot of it can be done through email, which was great since we were traveling a little bit. And they're really good at giving you deadlines, you know, like you owe this much by this date. We need to know these, you know, like we need to print out your menu to make that decision by this date. So it's really kind of nice because they lead it for you. You don't have to be thinking about all that stuff. Like, oh my God, I didn't make any of my favors. They're already made. And, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's just, they know the date, they have the timeline, they just send it to you, and then you just follow along, and then you wake up, and the next day you're getting married, and it's incredible. And they're really good at like even just calming you down. Like I had a friend that also got married at Disneyland, and she was saying that a bird pooped on her dress right before she was about to walk down the aisle. But they had this like, it was like Mary Poppins. Like they'd be like, spit, and then like people would come out of nowhere, clean the mess, and then it's like, oh, it never happened. Like I don't know, I wasn't there, but the way it was described made it seem like that. Like, you know, like Lightning McQueen when he needs to get his tire fixed. Like just like the teen comes out and then within seconds it's fixed. It's like that.
Wow.
And I kind of secretly wanted that to happen to me just to see the magic.
Right.
I believe it. I wasn't there, but I believe it.
Well, speaking of magic, what was your favorite pixie dust experience through all of this?
Well, all I remember is I knew, like, I had made the decisions of what the room would look like, what this and that would look like. But when we first walked into the ballroom and saw just the way that it was decorated, like, because we had talked, we want lights coming from here to here. We want, you know, obviously those castles and this and that. You can picture it in your mind, but it's, when you see it there, it was just so beautiful. And my biggest regret for my wedding is not having a videographer, because we didn't think we would need to spend that extra money. But I have lots of pictures, but I don't have any film of like people having such a great time, and you know, like just seeing it all like come. It was just, it was like just amazing. Seeing all of it together.
That sounds cool. One of the things we've heard,
it was wonderful.
You know, with people going, you know, planning their wedding and going through a wedding planner is, you know, the thought is you want to be, you know, able to just really enjoy your day, have it be as stress-free as possible because somebody else is kind of taking the reins for you. How did you feel Disney did on that?
Oh, yeah. It's so funny you brought that up, because I was just thinking about how, you know, like I've attended, you know, a few weddings and here and there. And so you're like, okay, there's typically like a schedule. They do this, they do the first dance, they cut the cake, you know, blah, blah, blah. Right. But when it's actually you doing it, like you have to follow that timeline. And I'm more of a person that likes to just like hang out and let things happen and see people and just talk. But it was like, you know, like they'd come up and be like, okay, Nicole, I made your plate for you already. I made sure to put lots of peanut butter and jelly pizza on it. And after you eat, we are going to need you to go ahead and do your dance. Okay, just letting you know, like, hurry up and eat so that you can do that, because when you're done eating, then everyone else is going to be starting to eat and they're going to want to see you dance. And you're like, okay, I can do that. And then you do your dance and like, okay, so as you're finishing this up, I just want to let you know that you are going to have to go do the cake next. You know, they just like are so good. They just come up to you and do that, and they make your plates, and they were filling your food. Like, I mean, for me and Joe, obviously. Awesome. So we didn't really have to go over there, but it was almost like it was 2 nights nice because I wanted to go over and see the food, but I didn't even ever have to because they would just keep bringing it to me, which is the best.
Yes.
But, but yeah, they were so good at that. I mean, I kind of felt like it was just happening so fast. It was like, oh my gosh, it's already time to do that. Like, oh no, it's almost over. But it's not their fault. I mean, they made it run so smoothly. There was no dead time. It was just
nice.
Yeah.
So I think you glossed over a little bit. The biggest part of that was because we know about this at so many weddings that the bride and groom never get to eat anything, but it sounded like Disney made sure you got to actually eat something, which is fantastic.
I would have been so disappointed if I didn't get to eat peanut butter and jelly pizza. Yeah. I think that was like probably in a memo, like make sure she gets that or else I don't know, because they kept bringing it and like, oh, we filled up your champagne, they're just so magical.
That's awesome.
And they were very present, which is awesome. It wasn't like we had to go look for anybody or anything. And we had a different lady that ran through the rehearsal dinner. It wasn't the main girl, Tracy, that we had worked with. So we were immediately like, who is this lady? Is she going to understand what she was told? She got it.
She doesn't even know me.
It was perfectly fine. I think at first we were like, how is this going to, and we started to stress out. And she was like very no nonsense. And you kind of have to be that way to get like some of the groomsmen in check. And then it went so smooth. And then it was great. Like, then we could go eat.
So she was like the bad cop. You have the good cop setting you up and getting everything set, and then she's the bad cop making sure everything goes in order, right?
Yeah, exactly like that. It was so fun. And we did the rehearsal dinner at Storytellers Cafe, and then we had like a breakfast for everyone at Goofy's Kitchen. Not everyone, but most people. So 2 days worth of peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, nice. Lovely. Love it. Sweet. Love it. So,
so sad. So, it is. It's just funny.
Obviously, other than marrying the man of your dreams, what was your biggest memory of the actual event of it happening that day?
Oh, that's so hard.
I know. I give you the tough ones.
Yeah.
Well, it was so long ago too. I mean, not so long ago, but I think one of the things that this has nothing to do with the Fairy Tale Weddings department, but one thing that was so funny is like Joe and I planned down all the music and most of the things to the details. So when the guys were coming out, we had like a fun song for them, and they were like interacting with everyone as they walked into the ballroom, and it was awesome. And then all the girls had their dance, and they just totally owned it and did their thing. And then Joe and I were like, oh my God, we didn't plan anything cool for us to do. And so we just kind of walked in like, hi guys, we just got married. But even though we didn't have like that miraculous entrance, like everything was just so beautiful, and like everybody was just having so much fun. And you know how when sometimes when people get married, they invite way more people because they know a lot of people aren't going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
We were full to the max. Like there was not one seat that like everybody that said they were coming came. Wow. Everybody showed.
Wow.
So
Disneyland, of course.
It was like people were there, everyone was there, and just like watching us come in. And it didn't matter that we didn't have a song or like anything planned. It was just so beautiful and perfect. Like the ballroom we got married in had this huge chandelier. It just really looked like Beauty and the Beast, like that big chandelier in the middle, floor to ceiling windows. And it was called the Sleeping Beauty Pavilion Room, which is my favorite princess. So it was like perfect. And just walking in and seeing everybody, it was just like that moment was so amazing.
Sounds magical.
So which ballroom?
Really
you got the name of the ballroom. What was the location that you chose?
It's in the location for the ceremony.
Yes.
Or the Rose Garden at the Disneyland Hotel.
Wow. Oh, okay. Wow. That had to be beautiful. Yeah.
It was beautiful because all the flowers were in bloom and everything was purple. So it was like very perfect.
They knew going in.
Yeah, exactly. And she was so, Tracy was so funny. She's like, so I made a little hidden Mickey with all the flowers when we hung them up. You're just so perfect.
Oh, that's
How did
great.
you know I would want a hidden Mickey here? So funny.
And then the reception was right there in the hotel itself?
So they had like a little cocktail hour for all of the guests while we did our pictures, and it worked out perfectly. We all walked in. I mean, it was planned down to the moment, so it was amazing.
Oh, cool. What did you do in preparation, or what would you since then maybe thought about some preparations that brides to be now thinking about having a Disneyland wedding would want to prepare?
I feel like this has gotten so big now. that, they have so many more options. They do so many more things.
Sure.
There's lots of Disney groups online like on Facebook. And I would try to join, I'm sure there's a Fairy Tale Weddings one, and just see what other people have done.
Good point.
And I would never be afraid to go see the prices, because obviously it's going to be pricey.
Right.
Every wedding is going to be, pricey.
Sure.
But when you factor in the amount of things that they can do for you and how much easier it's going to be on you,
Right.
it's kind of worth it. So I feel, and they have so many different options of prices, and you can not have a huge wedding and have a smaller one and do it. They also do something where you can have your wedding photos taken in Disneyland the next morning. I mean, there's
Nice.
so many things you can do.
Right.
So, I mean, don't ever be afraid to just make that initial call and just see, because you just never know. It could fit into your budget.
Right. Right.
And, I mean, when you add in, like I was saying, all those favors and all the photographer and all that stuff, when you add it all up, and if you're going to be making the favors yourself or having someone else do it, I mean, if you're just going to have Disneyland do it, it's like not that much more, so just do it,
Right.
Like, I don't know. I just am all about not having a stressful day, and that was the very opposite of stressful.
Right.
None of
Completely
it was
agree with that.
stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds very much like they, kind of really helped hold your hand through the whole process and making the decisions that you needed and the time you needed, and that, kind of culminated to that day being very smooth.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. They do everything. It's just amazing. It's just crazy.
So other than obviously you're giving out tips for people to look at Facebook groups or whatever else, other ways to find out what other people have done. Is there anything that you wish you would have known before you went into this that you now know, if you could have looked back at it?
Other than not having a videographer, because that was my main thing. I really don't think, I think everything that we did worked out perfectly for us. I guess I would have maybe changed some of the songs to get more people out on the dance floor, and that's literally it. Because I guess people didn't want to dance to Mbop by Hanson or Under the Sea. I don't know why.
What? That's crazy. What?
Crazy dog.
I don't know why. I was
I
the
don't
only
know
one on the
why
dance floor. But I mean, if that's the only thing, I mean, it's really like everything went so great. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what you really want when it comes down to it. I mean, it's really about you two as a couple, and it sounds like they even adjusted to something as far as the food package. It's nice to hear that they will kind of listen to what you're looking for and adjust things to it. So to have such a special day, that's great. I'm sorry.
I don't know if they've ever done that before, but it was the way she said it, like, we did this for you. It made it seem like, well, I guess I'm the only one that's ever done this before.
Wow,
It makes you feel so special, even if it's like the 100th person that they've done it to. It just makes you feel so special and that they did it for you. And I don't know. It was just amazing.
Which is really what you want, it's such your big day and everything. And it's whether they do it, whether you're the first person who've done it or the 100th person who've done it. If you go in there and you ask questions and you tell them what you want, it's good that they are somewhat adaptable to this. I'm sure that they have most of the things laid out and how they want them to go, but it sounds like at least they are willing to listen to you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also know that they don't just do weddings. I've seen people do like when they renew their vows or even like an engagement, or just they have different things that you can do too that have kept growing and growing and growing. So I wonder, I don't know, maybe you could do this every 10 years. I don't know.
That's not bad. That's bad. Yeah,
Probably not.
We've been by there seeing bar mitzvahs going on and quinceañeros and all sorts of things. So all sorts of events going on. But we may be doing our. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I say we may be doing our vow renewal at some point as well. So maybe we might look into Disneyland as possibly doing that in the next several years. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
You should do it.
Yeah, we may. I cut you off. You were about to say, Nicole.
Oh, all I was going to say is, and then after getting married, I worked for the park more and more and more, and so I would see a lot of people getting in that Cinderella wedding coach and just. Seeing their faces. I mean, even though, I'm like, okay, I've seen like 10 people on this, or here's another person, here's another person.
Right.
And so it may seem like it's not special after seeing it, but it is. Like, you watch their faces and it's incredible to see them having that moment. And it doesn't take away your moment,
Right.
like when you think about, okay, so many people do this, or whatever, is it special? Yes. Like, everything is made and done like the way you want it for your wedding. And even though 100 people may have this coach, when you watch their faces inside, it's just incredible. It's like they're having that moment together.
Right.
And it's so cool to see it.
Yeah, that is so cool. So.
I think that's a great way to wrap this up. It sounded like a beautiful day. I'm so glad it went so well for you. I'm so glad you got to eat. The most important thing is your
Thank you.
but just such a perfect day, and I'm so happy to hear about your wedding at the Disneyland Resort and how it might help others in the future.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say the same
you.
kind of thing, that, we appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us and to share with our listeners that, may be thinking about should they or shouldn't they consider a Disneyland wedding. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for thinking of me.
Oh, always, Nicole.
So
we always love having you guys on, and you on, and you even giving your input in some other things. And I'm sure we'll be hitting you up for some of our top 5 favorite lists as we come on, because we always love your input. So. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you again, Nicole Eacobellis. Thank you for joining us, and please say hello to Joe and thank him for being a part of this in sort of a side way.
Thank you guys so much.
So thank you again, Nicole Eacobellis, her husband Joe. What great details she gave about getting married at the Disneyland Resort. Her wedding sounded beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say, sound like an awesome experience, and one that was certainly cherished forever.
Yes. How about the peanut butter and jelly pizza? Oh, that is so cool. I want that now at some point. I want to have a peanut butter and jelly pizza. I think I may go home now when we get back from vacation, of course, and have a peanut butter and jelly pizza.
Yeah.
That sounds really, really good. So thank you again, Nicole. We really appreciate your input always, every week, and she does help us out in so many ways, and this was another great one.
Yeah, and like we've said in the past, she kind of reinforce this. If there's something you're interested in, ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yes, ask questions. And that goes for every day. I mean, yes, of course, if you're having some sort of big ceremony or some sort of celebration at the various Disney properties, but even on a daily basis, if there's something you have a question about or wondering about, go find a cast member and just ask them. If they don't know, they will find out for you. The cast members are very good at doing that. That's what they're there for.
Absolutely. And if there is a cast member that goes above and beyond, please give them some kudos and put that out on Twitter.
Hashtag cast compliment.
That's right. Because, they really do strive to make experiences for us very wonderful, and they deserve our appreciation.
Yeah, they did great. They, if you were willing to do that, they've done great things for you. It'll make you feel good to do it, and believe me, it really makes them feel good when they approach them with this, thing. You got a cast compliment.
Right.
They really, it's great for them.
Exactly, and from the organization, it really is a highlight that when that happens.
Yes. They put it all over social media. It's fun. Lots of people like those tweets or the Facebook posts or Instagram posts, whatever it may be. Right. However you do it on social media, they really enjoy it, and it's really good. So please, please, please do that. And yes, again, now we hear about the Disneyland Resort. I mean, we already did Disney Cruise Line. That was us. But now, we've heard Rob talking about the Walt Disney World Resort. Now we've heard Nicole talking about the Disneyland Resort. We have to plan some celebrations out there because those all sound fantastic.
Yes.
Plus, all that food she got to try. I want to go for the tasting that she got to do all the different stuff. I mean, she walked away with so much food. Yeah. Holy cow, that sounds really, really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as we said before, I don't think we've talked about it enough, apparently. We're on vacation right now, so this show's a little bit different. Normally, we would get to the Disney stories of the week after our main topic, but being as that we're recording this 2 weeks prior to this actually coming out, we know what the Disney stories of the week are. We just aren't there to tell you about the Disney stories of the week. So you can find them with us on social media where we'll probably be retweeting them out or whatever. But we never end an episode without giving you a tip of the week, something that helps you, whether it's at the Walt Disney World Resort, the Disneyland Resort, Run Disney, Disney Cruise Line, whatever. We'd like to give you a tip to wrap up the show that might help you on your next vacation. And we always start with Michelle because, one, it's definitely ladies first. Two, her tips are like, I'll bow down before Michelle's tips.
No, but that
We're
would be
not
great.
worthy.
be
We're
great
not
music.
worthy. Michelle has the best tips, so she goes first. And without any further ado, let's get to Michelle's tip of the week.
And so I'm wondering how many times, after you listen to my tip, you're like, oh, why did I build up her tip? It really was just kind of minor.
No, your tips are
Minor
always
league.
better. Always
Minor
better
league.
than mine. So much better.
Well, you're kind to say that. So since this week's episodes we're talking about Disneyland, I figured let's make a Disneyland tip. And it's kind of in the midst of our rainy season here at Disneyland. And so my tip for this week is if you're planning a trip to Disneyland and you know it's probably going to rain,
Take advantage of it.
I was just going to say that's a good time to go because it really isn't as crowded as usual. So don't let that deter you. But in order to maybe make it a little bit more comfortable, especially if you're not staying on property, whether you're at a hotel that's not as close, or if you're coming like from us, a lot of times we're just coming from home and not going till the end of the evening, you might want to consider renting a locker and bringing either a change of clothes or even just a change of top. I mean, we've been out there sometimes, and again, it rarely comes down hard in Southern California. Coming from Florida, rains. Yeah. Okay.
I promised I wouldn't sing, and here I go.
No, it's great. It's great. So, but anyways, there are times when we've been here at times where it really just, yes, you can just grin and bear it, and we've done that, and it's fine. Like when we're with Scott, so we have Scott with his special needs, and for him, sometimes the experience starts to deteriorate when, you're sitting on a lot of very wet rides that are outside and things like that, that having a quick, easy access to get a change of clothes can kind of refresh and make the experience bright and new again. So, and, rather than trying to get a tram to go back to your car, drive to your hotel or wherever, consider a locker rental.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have them at Disneyland Park on Main Street, USA. We find the ones at California Adventure right there in the front at Buena Vista Street to kind of be the most convenient because they're also right next to the restrooms. But they also have them in downtown Disney. So that's my tip is if you're going to be there, especially if you have kids that aren't like little kids in strollers where you packed a lot of things in bags or in strollers, but you might have some tweens or whatever, or just for yourself. You just might want to say, hey, I don't want to necessarily feel like I'm going into the evening all soaking wet, and just have a little change of clothes convenient to you right there at the park.
Yes, that's definitely good. Have an umbrella, have the slickers, the ponchos with you, a jacket, whatever you need. Believe me, the rainy days, especially, actually in Walt Disney World Resort too, when it's really raining, but definitely at the Disneyland Resort are some of the best days to be there because it does keep the crowds down a little bit.
Right.
So you can really take advantage of that and get onto a lot of attractions and really have a great time as long as you don't mind braving the weather.
That's right.
So find ways around it. Find ways to beat it. If you are living or if you are staying nearby, you can always have your clothes there and just go back, do a quick change and come back or dry out a little bit. Change of shoes is always good. Change of socks is definitely important because those are some of the things that will get, even if you have the ponchos and the umbrella and everything, they'll get the soak the fastest. So definitely good. As I said, all hail Michelle's tips. We are not worthy for Michelle's tips. Her tips are always the best.
You're so sweet.
Let's get on to my little tiny peon of a tip. My tip is actually we have the late night. I'm also going with Disneyland here because we're coming up here in the next couple months. We're going to have the late night Disney events coming up here. If you haven't experienced them, they're a lot of fun. We went to the Star Wars night last year at Disneyland After Dark Star Wars night, and we went to the Throwback night last year, and they were both
amazing,
a blast. This year we have Sweethearts night, and we also have 90s night, which both are going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to both of those.
Yes.
However, one thing I wanted to give you some pointers on is that since we've done this before, when you're going into these things, you can get there before the time. These things start at 9 p.m. You can get there as early as 6 and get in. And yes, the rest of the crowd that don't have the ticketed part of the event will be there. But you can knock out a few things before the event actually starts, if you like, and get into the park, enjoy it. If you want to eat something, great. What my tip would really be is to kind of have an idea of what you want to focus on when you go there. One thing we found out is that A lot of times the lines for photos are crazy for these things. You'd think it'd be the attractions.
Right.
No, it's the photos. So if you want to get a lot of pictures, figure out early on where you want to get your picture taken and get to that spot as early as you can. And you get remember, the PhotoPass pictures are included with your ticket. So, that's why a lot of people take advantage of this. Secondly, if there's limited edition merchandise that comes with that night, get to that quickly, too, because they will sell out. We've tried to get them later in the night to get some of the limited edition merchandise. It's gone. It's wiped out. People have bought it all out. So take advantage of that early on in the night if you want to do that. The attractions, the lines for the attractions are going to be pretty good throughout the night. You can get to those later on. Food also, some of the specialty food, the lines will build for those too. So if there's something you really want to try, they start as the night goes on later in the night. It'll start to wane a little bit. The lines go down a little bit. So my suggestion, it would be, if you want to approach the photos early or the shopping early or both of those things, and you can put off the food to a little bit later, maybe eat something either right when you first get to the park before the regular crowd goes out, or eat something before you go into the park. That way you can hold off and try some of the specialty items. You're hungry for them later, and you can have them when the lines are a little bit smaller. So.
Right. No, that is definitely good advice, because you really want to get the most out of the night. Everybody's trying to vie for that same enjoyment. So that is a great way, to attack it, to really have a plan and go to those things that you want to get done. And the other thing, too, is because they're late at night, and if you're going with kids, they might get worn out, and so it's easier to get them in pictures earlier on.
Yeah, that's true. Again, Michelle points. Tips. Michelle has great tips.
So that's another way to make it, be a better than trying to wake up a kid at, midnight.
Right.
Say, let's get a picture taken.
Yeah, these things go till 1 a.m.,
Right.
so be prepared for that. Also, familiar. Boy, it's been a long day. We recorded all 3 of these podcasts in one day. It's been a long day. Familiarize yourself with the schedule. So, because there's usually a specialty fireworks show. You want to be in a good spot to see that at a certain time. Right. Sometimes there's a parade of some sort or some sort of other event that they have going on. Sometimes they have little dance areas, know where the bands are playing or whatever else, so you can see the things that you want to see and enjoy the things you want to enjoy. Just check it all out, and as we say with many things with Disney, have a plan going in. And you could be making that plan when you first see the schedule, when you first get there, but kind of make a plan for the night.
That's a great tip. So that was a good tip.
Yeah, my little surf of a tip to
2 thumbs up.
Your royalty of tips.
2 thumbs up on that one. Good job.
Anyway, so that's it. This is the last episode while we're on vacation. So next week we will actually be back from vacation with a brand new episode that we will be recording on that week. And that episode, of course, will be us talking about our vacation because we haven't talked about it enough while we've been on vacation. We'll be telling you some of the highlights of it. We're actually going on a cruise, not with Disney this time, but we'll talk a little bit about the cruise and what we experienced on a different cruise line. Right. Also, we are going to be taking a quick jaunt over to the Walt Disney World Resort. One we're meeting up with, we just heard from him last episode with OG Hyperion Adventurer Rob. We're going to get to meet up with him and his beautiful wife, Kim, and have some fun with them out there. But also, we're going to get to experience the Epcot International Festival of the Arts. So we'll talk about our experience with that, share that in case you're planning on doing that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. We're excited about that. I mean, we did that a couple years ago and looking forward to doing it again, and looking online at some of the things that they have to offer are amazing. And so we're truly looking forward to experiencing that and sharing that with everybody.
Yes, so we will be doing that, and who knows what else will pop up for the next episode. Definitely we'll have back to the Disney stories of the week, and of course we'll always have Michelle's wonderful tips and my lowly little tips, because we do that every week. So again, thank you for following us, and thank you for being with us this week and throughout this. Even though we haven't been near, we really appreciate that you've listened to these episodes while we've been away. You can follow us. We are still on social media, even when we've been away. We're always on social media, and we have a good time out there with social media with so many. By the way, we have some other great people that do podcasts, Disney podcasts, that we love interacting with out there. They're a lot of fun. Give them a follow too. They're a blast out there. For our Twitter, you can find us at Hyperion Podcast. Facebook and Instagram at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. You can always email us, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com. You found us today Find us in the future on 1057max.com under the Max Plus tab and the Max FM app. Better yet, subscribe to us. It's the best way to get this podcast. iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
And please let us know if you've had your wedding or vow renewal with either at a Disney venue or if it was just Disney themed. We'd love to share your story on our podcast. So please reach out to us. And, and if you do want us to play Tom's music, we could do that for another.
We're not doing that. That intro, I've heard it 3 times. It's not funny anymore. Okay. Yes, cake. Let's get some cake. Yes, I know. I got it. I heard it all right. I heard it. Anyway, thank you for listening to us again. Thank you. Wow. I can't believe the vacation's over.
I know.
Even though it doesn't even feel like we started it yet.
I know. I'm still like, what else do I have to pack?
Anyways, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week, and we will actually be here next week.
Yeah.
Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.